Welcome to the Weekly Roar, coming live from the Lion's Den, helping new managers become great leaders and awesome bosses. And now, here's your host, Greg Storch.
Hey everyone, thanks for joining me today. Welcome to the Weekly Roar. I'm Greg Storch, owner of Lion Enterprise, host of the Weekly Roar, and the founder of a worldwide bartered coaching program called The Helping Hand. I'm a certified professional leadership coach and a certified leadership speaker and trainer. Now, I'm really excited today to kick off this short series called My Top 10 Tips for New Leaders. Now, each week, I'm going to talk about each tip until I reach episode 199. Then join me at the end of April for my 200th episode of the Weekly Roar, where a panel of growth-minded individuals will join me to speak about just that, growth. Now, today, I'm starting out with a tip for new leaders that has been a tremendous help in my own leadership, a tip I learned decades ago, and that is the importance of our attitude in leadership. So let's get started with tip number 1. Your attitude determines your altitude. You know, I have a Post-it note stuck at the bottom of my computer screen here that contains a quote from Winston Churchill, and it says, "Attitude is a little thing that makes a big difference." That's not only true about life, but also when it comes to our leadership. Transformational leaders are leaders who consistently display a positive and optimistic attitude that serves to inspire their people. If you think about it, imagine having a leader who is the total opposite of that, and it's always pessimistic and negative. They only serve as an uninspiring leader. I believe that positivity breeds positivity. It's catchy. It's positive energy, and everyone who comes in contact with it is attracted to it. And this is probably one of the most important reasons why the leader must cultivate a positive attitude. You've probably heard of this saying by Mahatma Gandhi before that says, "Keep your thoughts positive because your thoughts become your words. Keep your words positive because your words become your behavior. Keep your behavior positive because your behavior becomes your habits. Keep your habits positive because your habits become your values. And keep your values positive because your values become your destiny." That all starts with a positive attitude, and it cascades into every other aspect of our life. Now, we've all heard it before. Attitude is everything. Well, it's true. When it comes to the workplace, leaders are the people who others look up to for inspiration and guidance. Leaders set the example for others to emulate in their own behaviors and actions. All eyes are on us as the leaders. Now, when I talk about the most important qualifications of good leader, I will typically speak about things like education, experience, and charisma. But truth be told, while those qualities might be important, they're nothing in comparison to the one thing that no leader should be without, and that's a positive attitude. Now, I get it. It's hard to be positive and upbeat 100% of the time. It's not just realistic. And that's not what I'm trying to tell you to be. But having awareness around how quickly negativity can infiltrate and destroy a team is important to drive our behaviors towards trying to maintain a positive attitude a majority of the time. When we understand the impact that a positive attitude can have on a team or even on just one person, we have the ability to lead our people down the positive path to success. And the thing is, they'll willingly go. our attitude is powerful. It can lift you up or it can drag you down, but more importantly, it can have the same effect on those you lead. Now, I know for a fact that our attitude can directly affect other people's attitudes, and their attitudes can ultimately affect the bottom line, whether that's negatively or positively. If you want to be sure that you're setting the right tone for your people through a positive attitude, all you have to do is take a look at your thoughts and behaviors. Do you notice that you tend to complain about things or make negative comments about other people? It's easy to do. We're actually wired to be drawn to the negative. So just be mindful about your own attitude and behaviors in order to set a good example. Fostering a positive attitude is also what helps leaders to push through the tough times, and times couldn't be tougher than right now dealing with this pandemic. Am I right? As the leader going through tough times, it can be challenging to maintain a positive attitude. We have to stay positive and upbeat and enthusiastic in our attitude. Our positive attitude during negative times puts our resilience on display. And that's exactly what our people will do when they see it. They too will become resilient, which is a key ingredient to remain standing through the storms. So, what I want to do today is just cover a few tips on how I maintain a positive attitude in my own leadership. Now, like anything in leadership, it all begins with us. So I like to spend time getting better at listening to how I'm talking to myself. Self-talk, that little voice inside our head that likes to give its 2 cents on everything, can make it difficult to maintain a positive attitude. Now, this takes some work. You have to catch yourself in the act. So tune in to your self-talk, and if you find yourself saying things that are more negative than positive, change the message that you're telling yourself. Now, one of the things I like to do is ask myself, what's another way of looking at this? Now, when I ask myself that question, it helps me to shift my focus and search for a more positive slant to my thinking. Here's another thing that I do to maintain a more consistent positive attitude. I avoid complaining. Check this out. When two people run into each other, one of the most common questions we ask each other is, "How you doing?" But for some reason, many people take that as an invitation to tell me about all the negative things in their life. It usually begins with something like, "Well, I've been better." Ugh. As soon as someone leads with a negative, I try to shift the conversation to something positive. Sometimes instead of asking, "How are you doing?" I'll ask, "Hey, what's the good word?" Already you're setting them up for a positive response. Several years ago, I heard a line that I started using, and I'm going to share it with you today because it's a great example of what I mean when I talk about the importance of a positive attitude. When people will ask me, "Hey, how are you doing?" or "How's it going?" my typical response now is to say, "If I were any better, I'd be twins." You can't escape the positivity in that, even though my poor wife is tired of hearing it. Now, give that a try next time somebody asks you how you're doing. Observe how the other person reacts to your positivity. I guarantee you it is infectious. Okay, and another trick that I use is to highlight the good. Whenever I'm faced with a challenge at work or a challenge in life in general, instead of focusing on all the bad parts of the situation, I try and force myself to focus on the good. Now, here's a little trick I use to do it. I use what I call a but statement. Here's an example of how it works. I'll say something like, oh man, I'm stuck in gridlock traffic and I'm going to be late to work again. But at least I have some extra time this morning to listen to that podcast I missed. That really has the same effect of a gratitude list. If you're feeling low, make a list of the things you're thankful for to help you gain perspective and shift from the negative to the positive. Now, the last tip I'm going to share with you today on how to maintain a positive attitude is to practice self-care. We have to take good care of ourselves because nobody's going to do it for us, right? Boy, I wish I could get somebody to go out in the morning and run 5 miles for me. To be a strong leader, we have to take good care of our physical and our mental health. Being the leader is stressful, and we have to do things that take care of that stress, or it'll be hard to maintain a positive attitude for very long. What do you do to relax and unwind? Just this past weekend, I went out for a massage to help me relax and de-stress because I could feel the tension building up in my shoulders. I used to run in the mornings to help clear my mind and start the day fresh and energized. All of these self-care things that help us maintain a healthy work-life balance contribute to maintaining a positive attitude. Oh, I can tell you this from personal experience that it's tough to maintain a positive attitude when you're exhausted. So make sure you get plenty of sleep, eat healthy, drink lots of water, and stay active. All that not only helps us to maintain our physical health, but also our mental health and our inner optimism. And our inner optimism is what's displayed through our positive attitude. So now you know why it's important for leaders to maintain a positive attitude. And I also shared some of my personal tips on how you can foster and maintain a positive attitude in your own life and leadership. Remember, tune into your self-talk and tune out of the negative vibes. Stop complaining. It never does any good and nobody listens anyway. Highlight what's good instead of focusing on what's not so good, and be sure that you exercise self-care. Pun intended. Today's culture often treats cynicism like a virtue, but it's no secret that positive teams are productive teams. Confident and supportive cultures are more collaborative and creative, and they ultimately attract hardworking, talented people who want to be there and want to work for you. But if you want to harvest that kind of culture, you have to plant it. We can't force it on people. We have to demonstrate it in our own positive attitudes. Whether positive or negative, a leader's attitude directly affects their organization and those they lead. At the end of the day, I think our attitude is a matter of choice. We can choose to be positive or negative. And even though there are many internal and external things that influence our attitude, some people just have a natural disposition towards negativity. But even so, changing your attitude is just one choice away. So I encourage you today to make a choice to become more positive and reinforce your decision with inspiration to keep you motivated. You'll be amazed at how quickly changes in your attitude affects your own life as well as the lives of your own team members. These changes will inspire everyone, including you, to keep growing. All right, friends, that's it for today. That is lesson number 1. So thank you again for joining me today, and join me next week for tip number 2 as we count down to episode 200 of the Weekly Roar. Until we meet again, remember, be powerful, but stay poised, just like a lion. Bye, everybody.
Thanks for watching the Weekly Roar live event at lionenterprise.com. If you enjoyed this video, please tell others to join us each week here in the Lion's Den. Thanks again, and see you next week.